Hello. In this series of videos, I'm going to explain how this supply chain game works and what is the role of each participant and how you should play following the rules and the different steps. So the point here is that you're a production distribution system where you have lead times both in terms of materials, products that are produced and sold to the final customer, and also regarding information flows. So there will be several teams, and each team will have a board, and each board represents a supply chain. You can pick a name, and there are four positions. You have the retailer, the wholesaler, the distributor, and the producer. You all also have a customer, but the role of the customer will be a little bit different. This is how the board looks. You can see the different colors representing the areas of interest of each of the participants. So in red we have the producer, which is a manufacturer. It's a factory where you'll produce the beginning of the supply chain in terms of production. And then you have the distributor. Later on you have the wholesaler, and finally you have the retailer. Okay, the retailer, the wholesaler, and the distributor are pretty much share the same structure. Okay, I'll get into the details later. And you have some slight difference here at this end of the board where you have um, some information regarding the customer and in particular the customer demand. And at the very beginning you have a slight difference in terms of production, because what happens here is that the retailer has to fulfill the demand of the customer. The wholesaler has to fulfill the demand of the retailer. The distributor has to fulfill the demand of the wholesaler, and finally the producer has to manufacture products so that uh, he or she can fulfill the demand of the distributor. And for that to work, so what the wholesaler first, what the retailer will see is the demand of the customer. The wholesaler will see the demand of the retailer. The distributor will see the demand of the wholesaler. And finally, the producer will see the demand of the distributor. So we will have materials flowing from right to left, okay, and information flowing backwards. So customers will tell the retailer what they need, and it will propagate somehow, and we will see that later on until the producer gets information. Okay, we might have one or two people at each stage. We'll see how this works. It depends on the number of participants, but there can be at two people playing the role of retailer. They will have to coordinate their decisions and how they play the game, and the same for the wholesaler, the distributor, and the producer. And we'll have one customer at the end of the board managing the information. The goal is to minimize total cost of each your supply chain of your team. This is the expression, but it's pretty simple. There are two reasons for having costs. One is carrying costs, so having inventory. So one strategy for you to try to fulfill the customer's demand or your demand is having lots of inventory, so that anytime your customer, let's say the customer, the distributor, so on, so whoever you're fulfilling the demand, um, you can have lots of inventory, so that anytime you have some demand you can fulfill it. So for that you can have a large amount of inventory, but that has a cost, and that's the carrying cost. So every week, because we're playing several weeks, we'll see that later on, but for every case, because we are using the case as the unit for production and for delivering products to our different participants. So for every week you have a case of products, you'll have a cost of half a euro. Okay, so the larger the inventory, the larger the costs. And every week you cannot fulfill the demand, you'll have a cost of 1 euro per case you don't deliver. So if you have a demand from your customer, let me say that I'm using customer in a generalized manner, because the customer itself, the final customer is only the consumer, and it's the demand, or it's the customer of the retailer. But anyways, anytime your demand cannot be fulfilled, you pay 1 euro. So if your demand is 2 cases and you cannot fulfill, you cannot deliver any of those, you'll have a cost of 2 euros. But if your demand is two and you can deliver 1 case, you'll have a backlog cost of 1 euro. Okay, so we'll do that calculation at the end of the game, and for that we will log all the information so that those calculations are easy to do at the very end.